Now, I don't know if you've noticed lately, but far from being strong and stable, our politics in this country seems to be a quivering wreck. If you're sick of conventional politics, who could blame you? There is another way. Mike Zeidler from Happy City, who actually helps the decision makers in forming a better society, joins me. Hello.
Hello, Steve.
Lovely. Nice to see a big, bright, happy smile as well.
And always a delight to be on your show.
It really is. This is interesting, actually, because you've been looking, haven't you, at the election and the sort of the way that that's been handled. Like many of us, you weren't terribly impressed.
Well, no, I mean, I think this has been an issue for quite a long time. In fact, I read a book by a guy called Richard Aldous about the battles between Gladstone and Disraeli, and he sort of would argue that this has been going on since the 1850s. But before that, it wasn't really always the case. That it was so vindictive and personal and, you know, and unpleasant.
Yeah. Are things worse, though, because of social media and so on? You can get directly to politicians.
I think it's had a significant effect. I mean, don't underestimate that the social media can also do the positive, and that's part of my argument, really, is to say we can do much better than this. We really can, and relatively easily.
In what way? Because one of the things that you're saying, the more emphasis politicians put on power, the less engaging that they become. Well, power corrupts, quite simply. Is that the case?
I mean, I think the thing is that power is a two-way deal. You know, we don't just hand power and then these politicians elected make all the decisions on our behalf without further discourse. In fact, the deal should be that they should fix things together. It's really important that they do. You wouldn't hire somebody to come and do some work for you and expect them to argue their way, complain about each other, and just not get around with solving the problems. You know,
so what are you saying? I mean, you talk about this appreciative inquiry. In other words, we should all be a little bit more sensitive in the way that we're finding information about things like Brexit, rather than yelling and shouting and screaming at the other side? Or?
Well, yeah, basically, it's the idea of appreciative inquiry. I think it's fabulous. If you think about it, the purpose is always to inquire. So we're always looking to find out what works. Yeah. What is the thing in here that we can build on? Because that's the best way to solve problems. And the politicians are all there to help us solve our problems collectively. So building on what works is really important. That's the appreciative bit, and the inquiring bit is, well, you know, treat it a little bit more like science, if you like. You know, this is experimental stuff. You know, we don't know all the answers. Let's find out.
So, Mike, we've got another election coming up in October, haven't we?
Yeah.
Possibly. What would you do different? What way do we go about this then? How are we appreciatively inquiring?
Well, I mean, I think the point is to make it into a learning debate. So if you can see it's self-evident, isn't it? That
but we had debates and the Prime Minister wouldn't come.
Well, precisely. That doesn't help, you know. So because it's not engaging in the inquiring process, you know, and if you emphasise the power piece, I'm going to win, then there's going to be some losers involved, and the losers aren't going to necessarily be very happy. Well, there will be losers involved anyway. But you know, if you do it in a very vindictive kind of way, how easy is it going to persuade those people who are a bit bruised and beaten up to come and work with you later when you need them?
You don't want them to, do you? You want a landslide victory and have nothing to do with them. It's only when it doesn't turn out that way that you're suddenly your best friends. People that stab other people in the back are suddenly welcomed back into the cabinet. I mean, come on.
Well, exactly. And I think the whole landslide victory kind of piece is it's important to control things and to make sure they can move forward constructively. But I would always argue that we're better off recognising that whatever our views, we are. You know, it's indisputable. We're in this together, whether or not we behave like it.
We've only a couple of minutes, and I'm interested in that you mentioned social media. I think social media is bringing out the worst in everybody. I've never seen language like it. You know, I mean, you know, I blush when I read it. You know what I mean? But it is, honestly, people are venting the most horrendous things on social media. Otherwise, normally respectable people. How are you going to get the happy, the sort of appreciative side of that?
Well, I think it's about setting the example. These are, you know, the example is set by people who are allegedly in a leadership position. So what's their responsibility? Should perhaps they think about the results, the consequences of the way they talk to each other about each other? I think it would make a big difference.
Yeah, what if you go right to the President Trump, for example? You know, you probably sparked the whole thing in the
Well, there will always be people who sort of do the Machiavellian thing. His policy is divide and rule. It's deliberate. It's you know, Putin, others. They are about control, power over others. And if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword, and you'll cause a lot of damage. If you, on the other hand, aim to be constructed together without necessarily being all, you know, soft and fluffy and lovey-dovey. You can still be very business-like, actually, about making decisions.
We've got about 30 seconds left. Just tell me what you're doing in Happy City. Where are we with the whole process? We're going about, what, 5 years?
7 years.
7 years.
7 years, yeah, no, it's very exciting. We've got the potential for working with these indicators about how our city is doing in terms of improving its prosperity, in terms of our health, social security, you know, our environment and health, and all those sorts of things. We may be doing that with several places in Wales. Hopefully we'll be doing it right across Bristol in the coming year, actually. Yeah,
great stuff. Well listen, I would vote you lead this revolution for our next general election, if and when that happens, I don't know, Mike. But
do you want to be in the cabinet?
I'd love to be in the cabinet. Yeah,
you're in.
I know I'd be too much of a power freak, I think. Listen, thanks very much indeed. Thanks for coming in. Great to see you.
It's a pleasure.
You.